growing up, I always liked this story. I was a shy kid and a natural introvert. So the idea of going to a wedding banquet and sitting at a place of honor horrified me. So I thought to myself, growing up, Jesus is the one commandment or one teaching I can follow without a problem, right? Get out of the way. But growing up, and so recently, it's so easy for me to forget that this is a parable, all right? It's leading to a deeper truth about wanting to take the place closest to God. And that seems like something we may not want to do, but let's think about it. So, the wedding banquet or the resurrection, right? We made it. Life down here is gone. We've gone to the next stage. And at this wedding banquet, everyone is invited. Israelis and Palestinians, Afghans, Russians, Chinese, Allied servicemen, Nazi servicemen, slaves, slave owners, abusive priests, their victims, Republicans, Democrats, conservatives, liberals, right? We're all coming to the banquet. It's going to be something. Maybe that's why we're told love our enemies and save some awkwardness for the future. Right? Consequently, that's why I believe in hell, actually. Not because I believe God's going to cast us in the outer darkness. I just believe some persons are going to need to take a break to step away from that excitement. Divine love is unfailing. It never fails us, and it's never ending, but it doesn't take hostages. But let's go to that vision of that heavenly banquet. No, let's go to my vision. I'm here. Let's go to that vision. We got Jesus, Mary, the 12 apostles, Episcopalians, right? The Anglican Communion by association only, right? And Methodist Lutherans, depending, right? And then the list goes down, right? At the bottom, right? We got people who I disagree with, who don't get Jesus, don't get God. And before I know it, right? I don't know you, before I know it, my enemies and God's enemies start looking the same, right? And God's friends and my friends start looking the same. See, at that point, I don't have a faith problem, an ego problem. And I really think that this is the heart of what these stories are about, all right? The story is about right relationship with God, right relationship with ourselves, and then the second story, right relationship with other people, right? And to be right with relationship with God and ourselves, humility. So, this is tough. This is a tough one. Who in the stories of Jesus does Jesus have the most problems with? Right? It's the religious elite. It's the people who think they know God, think they understand God. And not only do they understand God, but they don't. And who does God have, or who does Jesus have the most favor towards? The ones, the prostitutes, the sinners, the tax collectors, the people who are like, I don't get it. I don't know. All right? So there's a weird ethic that we're starting to find, that God seems to be more favorable towards those who admit that they don't know God. They don't get it. Right? And this is hard for church. Right? People come to church for answers. People come to church and we all want to know. We all want to know we know God. Right? But the teaching is difficult because we have to challenge ourselves. It's easy for us to accuse others of being unholy, of being sinners, of being against God. But whenever people do this in the Gospels, Jesus always ends up doing something like this. The reason I bring up this teaching, why I think it's so important, is as we look around the world today, especially in our country in its politically charged time, everyone claims righteousness. Everyone claims God is on their side. Boy, are we going to be disappointed. And I wonder if it's more important when we come to God, it's more important that we're right or that we're teachable. And I say this because I don't think any of us are going to come up to our Creator and we're going to get this, congratulations, Matthew, you knew all the right answers, right? No one's going to get that, right? I mean, the idea that anyone knows God and all the mysteries completely is absurd, right? So what's more important? That we're right or that we're teachable? And the reason I say that is because when the church calls out, and rightly so in many cases, but when the church calls out sinners, right, or people who they think are breaking the law of God, What do we expect when we call people out in repentance, right? If we're going to call people out and say, you're not treating children at the border right, fair enough. What are we expecting them to do? When we say, okay, our countrymen and our countrywomen are getting slaughtered by guns, what are we expecting them to do? Well, we're hoping, right, that they're going to take a moment, reflect, say, I might be wrong in this, right? Have a moment of reflection, say, I may not know it all, and then be transformed. That's our hope. Well, my challenge is that if we're expecting that of other people, how can we do that for ourselves? How can we be open to our own transformation? And I think that's the heart of the gospel here. Jesus is warning us, inviting us, whatever you want to say it, that whenever we think we got God, think again. Don't take the high seat, all right? Admit that you don't know it all. Admit that I don't know it all. And open ourselves up to being taught, to being reformed. It's hard teaching. It's hard teaching for anyone, right? And churches, so I'll use the Episcopal Church as an example, right? As if you're going to knock on someone, knock on your own people, right? The Episcopal Church is very good at condemning, rightly so, racism, sexism, all the isms, right? But in our church, we still have it. If you look at pay with clergy, particularly priests, we still have pay disparity. We still participate in the sins we condemn. But we are so quick to judge others instead of doing the reform that's required for ourselves. And we do this as human beings. It's so much easier to say, look at them, right? What about me? So the challenge for this gospel is, like I said, very difficult. And again, challenging ourselves, questioning ourselves, and what do I have wrong, and how do I need to grow? Which leads us to the second part of the gospel. So I feel like part of being ordained, part of being clergy, is apologizing for Jesus. What I mean by that is invite the poor, invite the homeless, invite the sick into your home. Right? So clergy sometimes I feel like Jesus really didn't mean that. What he really means is, or next week we're going to hear, sell all your possessions. That's not what Jesus really meant, right? I feel like clergy's job a lot is to try and apologize for Jesus, is what I mean by it. I'm not going to do that here, all right? I got to struggle with this scripture. You're going to have to struggle with it. What does it mean when we're told to invite the blind, the lame, the crippled, the sick into our homes? And I have a story with this one. When I was a missionary in Thailand, in Chiang Rai province, it's a very poor province, and I was walking through the rice fields with some friends. And there were farmers there, and the farmers, have the stilts, so you have in the rice paddies, you have these sort of hills, these dirt mounds, and you walk along them, and then there'll just be a little shack on stilts. And it was mealtime. I don't know what time it was, but it was time to eat. And we were invited in. They didn't know me. They didn't know my friends. We just came in, had a meal. We broke sticky rice together. And we had we shared stories, laughed, had the awkwardness that goes with cultural interaction. And then we left. And I've never seen them again. What I found is that people who live in poverty, or people who have very little problem following the gospel. People who have much, people who have wealth, privilege, power, have a really hard time with this gospel teaching. And to bring it back to how can we be transformed, the challenge is how can we be transformed into being more welcoming, to seeing those people who are outcasts in this world as our brothers and sisters. I mean, we have a culture that goes against that, right? We have a culture that strangers are outside, insiders are inside. We have fences and borders to keep people out, right? And we have jails and concentration camps to punish people who betray those. So how can we, as a culture, how can we transform ourselves into seeing our brothers and sisters as a part of the family of God? We're all going to be sharing this table in heaven. So I have no idea why we think we can treat people like crap now. We're gonna be sharing a table of heaven. So why do we act like we act now? All right. So I'll wrap it up, and how I'll wrap it up is the weekly challenge, right? So the weekly challenge is this week, whenever you find yourself with people you disagree with, you find yourself maybe even hating, find people you think are the enemies of God, whenever you start doing this is my challenge too, every day. Do this. Right? Whenever you see people suffering and you can help, don't do this. Do this. Right? Second one is if the Gospels bother you or something I preached bothered you, then I say, good, wrestle with it. Right? The Gospels are hard. Especially, I think it's like been week after week after week of hard teachings you've been listening. Was it 2 weeks ago? I come to bring fire on the earth. That's a nice one. You know, next week will be sell all your possessions. These are tough gospels. These are tough teachings. Wrestle with them. And I find that whenever I'm uncomfortable, then I have a chance to grow. So that's the invitation there. And lastly, with that, no matter if you disagree with Jesus, disagree with clergy, disagree with each other, disagree with the world, no matter what you wrestle with, remember that this table always has a seat for you. I mean, you don't have a seat at the table. I mean, you may not get the best seats in the house, but there's always a place, right? I mean, there's always a place at the table. Right? Keep coming back. The wrestling is the best part of this journey. And I think we're going to be wrestling for eternity, not only with God, but with each other. Thanks be to God. Amen.